McKinsey, a global consulting firm, plans to cut thousands and thousands of employees over the next several months. And in some departments, it could be up to 10% of their workforce cut. And AI is a major driver. But don't just take my word for it. Listen to what a McKinsey spokesperson says, quote, "As our firm marks its 100th year, we're operating in a moment shaped by rapid advances in AI that are transforming business and society." He continued, "Just as we're partnering with clients to strengthen their organizations, we're on our own journey to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of our support functions." Guys, big deal here. And we covered this a few weeks ago. Tata Consultancy Services, another global consulting firm, laid off thousands. I want to say that number is about 16,000 individuals laid off. And granted, these organizations are big, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. And by the way, if you want to stay up to date on how the job force is moving and how AI is reshaping your world, guys, this is the time to subscribe to the channel. I'm bringing you a fresh video 6 days a week, and find out why thousands and thousands of other young men just like yourselves are subscribing by, well, subscribing. Because the reality is that the world is changing dramatically quickly. And AI is shaping our world so tremendously. It is shocking to me how many people don't fully absorb this. And at any rate, this is a perfect example with McKinsey of how this is impacting consultancy. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Now, part of what's interesting with McKinsey is this consulting firm grew tremendously over the past decade. They grew from 17,000 to 40,000 employees from 2012 to 2023. They did have a spike in hiring during COVID of about another 5,000 people. Those were laid off. But the reality is that now we're entering this new era of AI, and it's completely transforming the way big businesses and organizations work. This is an interesting quote as well from Bob Sternfeld. He's the firm's global managing partner. He says, quote, "We're continuing to add folks who are client deployed." Let me repeat that again. I think this is important. We're continuing to add folks who are client deployed, and we see an ever increasing need for that. And we're aggressively in the market right now trying to expand that. He continues, "But we are rethinking our center-based operations by leveraging all of this new technology." So what does that mean? Guys, at the end of the day, this means that the problems that you solve are going to directly impact your ability to be hired. And right now, AI is just chewing up all those small functions on the back end. You know, we're in talks right now with one of the organizations I work with to implement Google Ads AI, which essentially just goes in there and optimizes your ads every single day, keywords, negative keywords, all that stuff, in an effort to improve the results from Google Ads, stuff that typically would have been done by a human being. Traditionally would have been done by a human being. All sorts of things are being outsourced. Customer service, all this stuff is being automated by AI. I recorded a video a few weeks ago. I'll post a link to it here. It's a very popular video about how AI is eating up positions at auto mechanics. And a friend of mine essentially had said that, well, he has an AI call service that's receiving calls. It's responsible for up to 20% of booked appointments in his auto repair shops. That's a big deal. Those are jobs that were traditionally handled by humans. Another video, I'll post a link to it here. McDonald's uses an AI program called Paradox to screen all their job applications. In fact, up to this date, or the time that I reported it, they had used this AI to screen 64 million job applications. Again, these were jobs that were typically done by a human being. However, what we are finding, and this is important, guys, so just pay attention here, it is important to note that there are some things that AI is not able to do, at least not yet, and that is the customer-facing relationship building. And I have been harping on this video after video after video that it is really important that you get serious about the relationships that you have. Someone that you respect, that is doing some cool things, someone you might want to work with in the future, just pick up the phone and give them a call. Say what's up, see what they're doing. Those relationships are going to matter a lot because things are going to shift dramatically over the next few years. Because the reality is companies like McKinsey are seeing other companies like Salesforce and Klarna firing thousands and thousands of people. Mark Benioff at Salesforce laid off 45% of his customer service staff. Why? They're deploying AI agents. And again, Salesforce is not the only one. McKinsey too. McKinsey earlier this year reported that they are deploying thousands of AI agents to automate tasks, and they are not going to stop. And listen, guys, they're using AI. These companies are using AI. I'm using AI not because they hate human beings and we want people to starve. It's not because of that. And I know a lot of people say it's because of corporate greed. It's not because of that. It's because if you want to be successful in life, you got to learn how to do things better. You got to learn how to do things more efficiently. That's the reality. There is a story, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, I don't know. But there's a story about Thomas Sowell visiting India. And in India, they were digging these ditches with shovels. And he asked the person who was showing him around, one of the government officials, hey, you know, why aren't you using bulldozers? You could have one bulldozer come here and clear out this entire canal in a day. And they said, well, if we did that, what about all the jobs that would be lost? All these people that are digging the holes with the shovels, what about them? He said, oh, well, I have a solution. Just why give them shovels? Just give them spoons. Then you'll have lots of jobs. Because guys, AI is not necessarily here to replace you. It's here to make things more efficient. And I know some of y'all might not see that, but I think it's important to recognize because it's not stopping, guys. It's not stopping. The reality is in the world that we live in, we need to continue to get better, to improve, and to keep up with the improvements around us, especially in a professional environment. You know, it's interesting, guys. It's not just AI, it's a change in the demand as well. You know, and I think this is another important point. It's not just AI coming in and replacing everyone. It's a change in what our customers, what they want solved. What is the problem our customers want solved? These problems are changing. And in the business consulting world, as I mentioned, with companies like TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, McKinsey, etc., the way that companies need consulting has changed. It has changed. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. You know, in the past, if you had a problem, you might hire outside or you might hire a consultant to solve a problem, but now you might not necessarily need to do that. Example, in one of the companies that I do marketing for, we have an initiative to drive Reddit. We want to drive Reddit for various reasons. I won't get into all that, but Reddit is becoming an important powerhouse when it comes to organic search, LLMs, things like that. So anyway, we want to put together this strategy, and we had the chance to hire an outside consultant for several $1,000s to come in. Well, instead of doing that, we said, hey, let's put together KPIs, tracking, metrics, let's put together game planning. You know what we did? We used ChatGPT. We used AI to develop our strategy and start to implement and make sure that we're asking questions along the way so that we can continue to improve and iterate. Now, there will probably be a point where we hire an outside consultant to come in to help clean it up. But, you know, instead of having them take us from 0 to 100%, you know, we can use the AI to get from 0 to 80% and then bring in a consultant to kind of clean up the cracks, to tidy up some stuff. You know, and this is the same thing that we're doing with ads. You know, with Google Ads, we're using AI to optimize, and then we're bringing in outside consultants to just kind of help clean it up. So, you know, again, the way that we're leveraging consultancy, education, all of that is going to completely change. You don't need a human to start you from 0 to 50%, 0 to 80%. AI can fill in those gaps. And then you bring in humans when you have some really specific, really niche type of scenarios. And I think that a lot of consultants understand this now. That's why a lot of people I know are building out these custom GPTs, the way that we learn. You know, I don't think people are taking courses the same way, selling courses the same way they used to, because people are using AI to solve these problems. The key here, and I've talked about this in the past, is that AI hallucinates, it makes mistakes, it doesn't understand context completely. It is going to get better. It is only going to get better, but we can still use AI to do a good job and then have a human kind of say, okay, let's clean up a few things. It saves you a lot of time on your side, but it also saves you a lot of money in bringing in these outside consultants. That is, again, a big threat to consulting companies like McKinsey. Guys, I just want to really reiterate this point. I think this is important. By the way, if you're new here and you've subscribed, thank you. Make sure you check out my newsletter. It's completely free. I'm bringing the freshest news, a lot of stuff coming up there. So you definitely want to subscribe to the newsletter, aiupdate.ai. It's again, completely free from my mouth to your ears. aiupdate.ai. The reality is I just can't get to every story. There's so many stories happening. I try to pick and choose the best ones at aiupdate.ai. But guys, it's really important right now that we understand this shift in the marketplace. We are moving into a new world where it's not necessarily about having a job, it's about solving problems. I know that sounds obvious, but AI magnifies this more than ever before. And it's really important that you're able to articulate your value in the workplace. Be numbers, be results driven. I was on a call with a sales team earlier today, and one of the guys on the team said, "Hey, Mark, I'm getting on a lot of calls, and I'm closing deals, and this is great." And I said, "Well, that's great, John, but according to the data in the CRM, you were only on 5 calls last week, and according to the data in the CRM, you haven't actually closed a deal in 4 weeks. So what are we doing here? I like you. What you're saying makes sense, but the data doesn't show up." And the problem for this guy, John, is that he's not able to properly showcase his value to the organization, because as an organization, we see that we're paying you this salary, but you're not getting on calls and you're not closing deals. You say you are, but the numbers aren't there. So it's really important that you think about your value within your organization. If you're an entrepreneur, what is the value that you're bringing your clients? If you can't show it on paper, you will be fired. If someone hires you, in a previous life, I spent almost all of my time helping clients produce podcasts. But the biggest problem that I had, the biggest mistake that I made with clients, is I was not able to show, because of the podcast that you're rolling, this is how many leads it created for your business. I was able to solve the problem of time. They didn't have to worry about it. They had a nice looking podcast. They had nice clips. They were producing social media content all over the place. That was good. But we weren't able to, I did not focus on showing the conversions. People watched and then they bought. And if you cannot solve, if you're not clear on the problem that your customers and clients are trying to solve, and you're not crystal clear on how you solve it, you're gonna have a problem either staying hired or finding the next job. Track your effectiveness. Make sure that you're able to paint that story and paint that picture. This is something that I'm laser focused on for myself. And I think that it's worth trying, it's worth looking and really focusing on that, guys. Again, we're about to move into the next phase of work. It's not about a job, it's about the problems that you solve. And even if you're new to the workplace, consider this. Again, you're new to the workspace, you're fresh out of college, just focus on who do I serve and how? What are their problems? How can I solve them? I just really want to kind of hit that home, because what's going to happen is with companies like McKinsey, when push comes to shove, they are going to have different problems that they want solved. And the problems that you're solving now might not necessarily be the problems that they need solved. So you just be thinking 2 steps ahead. And that's the message for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you like today's video, I think you'll be interested in tomorrow's video, because 2026 might be a big year. 2025, we saw 1.1 million jobs lost. But top CEOs predict that next year is going to be a boom year for new hiring. So this is why I want to cover this story today, guys, because positioning yourself for that new market is where you want to be. Because when you sit down with a potential employer, when you sit down with a potential customer, client, they're going to ask, what can you do for me? And if you're not super clear on what you can do for them and what the KPIs are, how to track that success, how to show, even if you don't have previous success, you can still position yourself in a way because you understand their problems and you understand how you can solve them and how you're going to prove that you can solve them. That, my friends, is going to be the key to success in the near future. At least that's what I'm focused on. If you appreciate the video, guys, like, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. All right, boys. Peace.